Hello, everyone. Just let me know if everybody can hear me. See, as people are coming in. Hello, sister. Can everybody hear me? You just put that into the chat. Hey, these, um, give me, everybody can hear me fine? Yes. I just want to make sure. So I wanted to hop on, of course, what we're dealing with, I don't want to swear, but F and ice and what happened with, the murder. But primarily, what the reason why I want to talk about Odessa real quick because I'm a little ramped up, a little worked up. It's being severely underreported as to what's going on over in Ukraine. Um, Odessa, I think all of you know that's where my family is. I have a fiance that lives that's in Odessa. Um, what's happening in Odessa itself, of course, Putin, Russia, they're hitting all the facilities, infrastructure that's there in Odessa. More importantly, what everybody needs to be aware of is what they're targeting is the port area. And why are they targeting the report area? Think about that for a second. It limits Ukraine's ability to commerce. That's where they ship the grains. That's where they ship sunflower oil. A lot of stuff that goes out, a lot of stuff that comes in. They literally feed the world from Odessa. Yeah, that's right, trade. They're targeting that. They, meaning Putin, the Russians are targeting that. That's just one area. Why does Putin want Odessa? He wants to control the Black Sea. With Odessa, he can do that. And I want to point out, and this is the biggest thing I'm going to point out, is if Putin is allowed to take Odessa, Moldova is next. There's no doubt. And that can't happen. Moldova is not part of NATO. Yes, they follow some of EU policies, but they are not part of NATO. You get an opportunity to take a look at a map, see where Moldova is. Okay. I briefly messaged Lev, and he said next week he's going to focus on a little bit of Ukraine. It to be a lot of Ukraine. Yes, Greenland is part of NATO. Greenland is part of NATO, and this is where I don't want to. I don't have a crystal ball to tell you what's going to happen. With if Ukraine. What happens in Ukraine has a direct impact on what's going to happen in the EU. Moldova. There's actually a little sliver that's in Moldova. I think it's called Transnistria. That is actually all Russian. They tried to interfere with the elections in Moldova, and thankfully they were unsuccessful. Then you have Romania. It's next to it. Go further north is Poland. Right along the border in Poland is where Lviv is, and that's where that missile that's capable of carrying nuclear warheads hit within, I think it's 69 miles. It's 105, 109 kilometers away from the border between Ukraine and Poland. Do you think that was a message? Yes, sir. No doubt. That's where that message was. And it was for NATO, letting them know we can do this. It's time for NATO to get off their backside. They need to protect the skies over Ukraine. They need to protect the Black Sea. So I don't know what else to say. We need to also help with the generators. I put up the GoFundMe for the generators. If you can, please. It's kind of stalled out. I looked. Well, give me a second. We're currently at $56,358. We're only at 47%. Yes, American citizen, you're right. Russia was on the verge of bankruptcy, and they are very close to that. And why do you think that Putin is pushing to hit Ukraine hard now? It's because he realizes that his economy is it's just about done. There's a lot that's going on, and we can thank Donald Trump. He wants to bring Russia back into the G8. And you have Witkoff that's involved. You have Jared Kushner that's involved. And when you connect the dots, there's more. Yeah. So somebody was talking about generators on Dean and Lev's chat about solar. I did some research about generators. First off, right now in Ukraine, generators supply is limited. And right now it's primarily petrol, gasoline. EcoFlow, they have generators that are dual fuel, combination of propane, liquid gas, and petrol. They also have the ability to connect solar panels to these. However, they're expensive. I looked to see if they could be had in Ukraine. They cannot. They're not available. Let's hope that changes. Because of what's happening in Ukraine. In fact, I just saw an article. The mayor of Kyiv said to the citizens and Ukrainians in Kyiv, maybe it's best that they leave the city because they were without heat, without water, without electricity. And it's when I read that, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Where are these people going to go? Yeah, Gwenny, I agree with you. Solar panels are the way to go, and there's a lot of like hospitals and the facilities in Ukraine that actually do have solar panels, and they're not being supplied by the United States. They're coming. I think they're coming primarily from Germany. That's helping with the solar panels, but solar is a way that they need to go. So a little update on my family in Ukraine. We have her family actually is in Poltava. Her dad had a stroke, and in Ukraine, of course, when it comes to primary care, they don't call it primary care. They have two types of hospitals. They have private and they have public. And there's the difference is night and day between the type of services that they can get at either one. So it's difficult to get care in Ukraine. So I'm just reading what's in the chat. So what I'm asking is that, we have Alexander's, we have his GoFundMe, we have the generators for Ukraine, the GoFundMe, we have the GoFundMe for Lev and the fight for democracy. And of course, enough is enough. Where do you get these shirts from? Where do you get the sweatshirt from? Go to Lev's site, levremembers.com. Get your enough is enough. Lev will be going on the road eventually. And he's on the road. He'll be going to different cities. And I hope the majority of us can get our shirts and join him when he's out there. Okay. If you can fund, I don't have a paywall, and I'm not like a Dean Blundell. I mean, meaning that I'm not that big. I don't have that many followers. But when I get to Ukraine, which will happen, I'll be in Odessa. The goal is the end of probably the last week of February. And the reason why it's taken this long to get to Ukraine is this process started. I can't even tell you how long ago it was. It seems like years, but it's been months. And you have to be invited to go to Ukraine. It's not like I can say, okay, I'm going to go and take my passport and just cross the border. It doesn't happen. So you have to have a visa and you have to be invited. And because of what's happened in Ukraine with the constant loss of electricity, a lot of the facilities, a lot of I want to say the court, but it's like the notary. In order to get the visa, there's certain documents that they require, certain things that need to happen, and then they'll process the visa. And I'm crossing my fingers, crossing my toes that will be ready first part of February. As soon as I have that, I'm traveling to Moldova. I go into, I believe it's pronounced Chisinau. There's an airport that's there. It's about 2.5 hours away from Odessa. And I'll travel to Odessa. Once I'm in Odessa, I'll go live. And I'll show you what Odessa is all about. The city itself, it's vibrant. It's right on the Black Sea. I live here where I am. I'm literally 3.5 miles away from the ocean, from the water. Odessa is where the Black Sea is. And it's a very vibrant community. It's beautiful. Everything that I've seen. And I want to show. Mr. Richard Hogan, you're asking, is the shirt to Canada possible? That's something that go to levremembers.com. I believe there's a link in there that you can send an email to ask that question. I don't know if we can send a shirt to Canada. It's possible. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. I wanted to come on here. I needed to vent, actually, because reporting on Ukraine is it's underreported. And even here on Substack, we're not seeing the reports on Ukraine. I go to Telegram to get the majority of my news on Ukraine. In fact, I'll go to Telegram. There's 3 or 4 sites: United 24 Media, Live Ukraine. I'll go there to get the news, to see what's happening in Ukraine itself. As I said, I have family members in Ukraine, so they'll let me know. They actually have an app that tracks the drones. They know where they are, and they communicate to let everybody know where the drones are. I'd like to say it's somewhat similar to what we used to have for ICE. We had an app for ICE. Yeah. I'm venting because it's frustrating to know what's going on in Ukraine and they're not getting the assistance that they need. We're trying to do the best we can with the generators. Olex gets the warm blankets, the kits that don't require water, so that they can at least have something for for hygiene. And of course, getting some of these kids to the front line. And that's where Olex was when they were hit by a drone. Literally, they were right there on the front line. So kudos to him and his team for delivering the generators to Ukraine. I mean, to the front line. In fact, what do you think his first words were? He wanted to know, did they deliver the generators? He was pulling the generators out of the van with 3 broken ribs. Really? It's like, how's that possible? How's that possible? But that's the type of man he is, and he'll tell you if you have listened to him before. He knew right from the very beginning when Russia invaded Ukraine. In fact, that's coming up February 24th, 2022. It'll be 4 years. 4 years. Now, of course, they've been fighting against the Russians in Ukraine since 2014 in the Donbass region. They took Crimea. We let them take Crimea. You realize that? President Obama, who was president at the time, and we did not assist, didn't give them the weapons that they needed. Yeah, Cat Wilson, you're right. He looked pretty good considering, because I saw him shortly after that picture of him from the van. His face was bloody. But I mentioned Crimea because it's those of you that remember when we had Senator John McCain. Senator John McCain actually did an interview with the BBC before Putin invaded Crimea. And that video that interview is there. So if you search John McCain at BBC on the internet, you'll find it. That video, that interview that he did, he predicted that if Putin was allowed to take Crimea, that he would build a land bridge. That what happened? They built a land bridge, and that they would invade Ukraine. And what happened? They invaded Ukraine. Well, I don't know if he had a crystal ball, but he sure as hell, he nailed it. He knew exactly what was going to happen, and it did happen. So everyone, we need to focus on the task at hand. Here, of course, we have what's coming up are the midterms in 2020. This year, 2026. It starts now. It starts now. And the question that we need to ask these candidates or the people that are up for re-election, first question you ask, are you going to abolish ICE? If they answer in the negative, they say no, I'm not voting their ass in. Hell no. Not going to happen. I'll say no. We need somebody that's going to stand up and fight for us. Fight for us. We all know the rising care of health cost. I don't know about you, but I haven't seen food prices come down. Maybe a skosh. Fuel prices here where I am, they still hover around $3 a gallon for fuel prices. Price for electricity. I heat my condo, it's all electric. I keep the temperature inside here at 62 degrees. That's why I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I'm sure I'm not unlike the rest of you. We all do what we need to do in order to make ends meet. Yes. No. Cat Wilson, have a wonderful day. I'm leaving as well. I just wanted to come on and I wanted to touch base with everybody. I haven't done a live. Last live I did was with Cat. And I'd like to do that again. I believe Monday I might be on with Nick and Shane at 1 p.m. So feel free to hop on. Julie, where are you that the gas is 4:30ish? I'm just curious. And you don't have to tell me exactly. Just tell me what state you're in. I travel for work. And when I travel, I mean I go to Eric, Oregon. So when I travel for work, mostly I travel East Coast. I think the furthest west I've been is, I got to think about that. Might have been Milwaukee. But for work, I go as far north as the Canadian border, so close that my phone says "Welcome to Mexico," "Welcome to Canada," and I go as far south in Texas that my phone says "Welcome to Mexico." Um, so I travel and I train automotive dealerships on software. So I get an opportunity to see different parts of the country, and I've seen parts of the country that uh, very economically depressed, parts of coal country. Um, you get an opportunity. Google search Big Stone Gap. Big Stone Gap. There's actually a movie about Big Stone Gap. But the reason I said Google search it, because that's where um, just a little bit north of that, there's a town I call it Appalachia. They don't call it Appalachia. They call it Appalachia. And it's right in coal country. And when I was there, I asked a simple question. I said, where do you go? Is there a restaurant, a sit down restaurant to go to? And they looked at me and laughed. He says, yeah, we have a Dairy Queen and we have pizza. There might be a Taco Bell. So I've seen different parts of the country that are very economically depressed. The only positive thing that I will say is I didn't see one effing Trump sign, not one. And that's in the middle of MAGA country. No. All right. I'm gonna wave goodbye. We're gonna call it a day. I know a lot of you spent 2 hours with Lev and Nick. American Citizen, you're doing a live with Nick, probably Monday too. I think he said 1 p.m. for me. I'm 1300 my time, Eastern Standard Time. Of course, Nick I think there's an hour time difference between here and there. So, all right, all. Thank you. All right, stay safe. As Lev said, and I'll say the same thing. This morning, I actually went to, um, I'm driving to the store, and I noticed along the side of the road, there were a group of people that had their signs. They were out, and I stopped, and I walked over, and I joined them. And then there was probably about 20 people. By the time I left, I think it was getting closer to 100 people that were on the side of the road with all their signs. And I'm looking at their signs, and one of them had a sign that I'm looking at it, and I'm reading it. I said, well, maybe the sign's on the other side. And I looked on the other side. He said, no, not there. And I said, and she laughed. She says, I didn't have time. So I took a bag of ice melt, cut it to the bag, and put it on over a piece of cardboard and stapled it. And it says ice melt. I said, nah, I get it. I get the point. So, all right, everyone, enjoy your weekend. As I said, stay safe, stay smart. Okay. If you do go out to enough is enough, stay safe. All right. Bye all. Thank you. I appreciate you joining me. I'll do this again sometime. And Eric, I've been watching you, when you're doing yours, you gave a lot of great information. So if you get an opportunity, follow Eric. Same thing with American Citizen, AC. A lot of what she's telling you, it makes a lot of sense. Um, Eric for him, a lot of what he does on the health side. Um, I'm intrigued by a consortium of doctors that can provide inexpensive health care. How's that? All right. Eric, I appreciate you too as well. All right. Be well. Stay safe. Ciao.